what you're looking at is a native Android app built with Jetpack Compose, and these are just my favorite albums. Let me know in the comment section what your favorite album is. In the last video, I showed you how to build a really simple app. We created a basic counter app, so when a user clicks on a button, a number here would just increase. And in that video, I was introducing y'all to state management. So in this video, I'll show you how to create this app here, and I'll introduce you to rows and columns, because in Jetpack Compose, that's how you build a user interface. You use rows and columns. Cool. So my name is Siviwe. I'm a software engineer, and in this YouTube channel I focus on building Android apps. I do some web development, but the main focus here is building mobile apps, especially Android apps. If you're interested in that, please consider subscribing, and don't forget to let me know in the comment section what your favorite album is. And if you like the video, I would really appreciate that. So yeah, let's build the app. So just a few things. When you create the project, make sure that you come to this build or Gradle, the app level 1, and add this dependency here. This is coil, and we will use it to load the images, these images here, because these come from the web. And then make sure that you come to manifest and add this permission. Right, so another thing that I did, I added this directory here called data, and I added this Kotlin file, mock data, and I've got just a data class representing an album. As you can see, each album has, you can't see the ID here, but each album has got an ID, the artist, which is Lil Wayne here, the name of the album, which is Carter 3, the year 2008, and the image URL, which is this. So we're gonna pass this to coil, and coil will just display the image. And then I've also added an object called albums, and I've added a value called favorite albums, and it's a list of albums. So I've added my favorite albums here. So these are not coming from an API, they just this is just mock data. In the upcoming videos, when I introduce you to dependency injection and MVVM clean architecture, we're going to be loading this data remotely, so that will come from a server. Okay, so once you've added this dependency here, hit sync, and then come here. Let's just remove everything, and then you should have something that looks like this. So if I go ahead and run the app, I should then have a blank application here. Before doing that, let me just first explain the layout. So we've got a lazy column here. A lazy column is basically a column. So the column will contain everything that you see, right? And then inside of the column, we've got a row. This is a row, and each row will have this composable here that we'll create. And then inside the row, which is this here, we've got a column that will contain the image, another column that will contain this information here. Yeah, so let me repeat that. We've got one big column, right? And we're gonna be using a lazy column because we want to be able to scroll this, and we want to get the same functionality that a recycler view has. So a recycler view is this: if I scroll up here, you see the Carter tree is disappearing and it gets recycled here as the Carter 4, and 444, when it disappears, it gets recycled and it comes back as Illmatic. So we are only using the composable as we need them, so that saves memory and it makes the app a bit faster. So yeah, a lazy column is the same as a recycler view. So in Compose we've got column, row, and we've also got lazy column for when you want to load a lot of data. We've also got a lazy row, so if maybe we wanted to scroll sideways, we can use a lazy row. If we wanted to scroll sideways and we don't know how much data we've got, we can use a lazy row for that. Cool, so this entire screen is a lazy column, and then this composable here has a row inside, and the row has one column and another column here, column for the image, a column for the info here. So let's go ahead and build that. Let me just run the app first to make sure that we have a blank screen, because we are supposed to be having a blank screen. Alright, so we've got a blank screen. So the first thing that I want to do, so you should create your composables in a separate directory, but because this is a really small app, I'm going to create my composables in one file. So to create a composable, you have to annotate your function with this here, composable. Then you create a function, and I'm going to call this function album item. So this is that composable that we had here, the one that has an image and the information. So the album item will take just one album, and the type will be album. We need to, let me check here. Yes, album. Yep. So remember I said we need a row composable, so row is also a composable as well, and we're gonna put some stuff in here, but first I need to modify the row. And to modify it, that means we can change the padding, the size, just to modify the composable itself. We can use something called a modifier, and modifier is equals to modifier, and I want to change the padding, so I can say modifier.padding, and for the horizontal padding I want to use 16 dp. So if you get an error, just make sure that you import what you need to import here. Okay, and then for the vertical padding I'm going to use 8 dp. So dp is just a unit, and then I want to fill the maximum size. So remember that this thing here, this album item needs to fill the entire width, so I can use the modifier to do that. So I'm going to say fill max width. Cool. So we need those two columns that I talked about, one for the image and another one for the details. So let's create one column here. and I don't need to put anything in here, so I'm just gonna use it like this. Then we need to use the image composable from Compose, and I'm gonna use this one with Painter. Select that one, and to paint the image we're gonna use coil. Remember this dependency that we imported here? Now we're gonna use it, and the function that we're gonna use is called remember coil painter. Remember coil painter. So if you remember from the previous video, I talked about this these remember functions. So this basically means that this image here, because we are going to be iterating, we're going to be displaying a lot of these composables. We're going to be displaying a lot of images, and this composable needs to have memory of what the previous image was, else we're just gonna see the last image for all of these composables. So we're using the remember here. And then for the URL, let me just show you what the album looks like. So we need to get the image URL. The URL is going to be album.image URL. And then for the content description, I'm just going to use album.name, which is the album name. And then on the image, I also want to use, let me just format this nicely. I also want to use the modifier to change the size of the image. So I'm going to go modifier is equals dot size, and I'm gonna use 64.dp, and I want to crop this image so that it looks nice. Can use content scale dot crop. So we are done with the first column. Now we need to implement the second column, and for this one I do want to pass some arguments inside. So I am gonna put the parentheses in here, modifier, and I just want to move the content towards the right a bit so that it does not stick on the image. So I'm gonna use the modifier to do that. Modifier.padding. I'm gonna start with the horizontal padding, and for this I'm going to use 16 dp. And then for the vertical padding, just to bring it a bit down, I'm gonna use 4 dp. So now we can go ahead and implement the text here, and text is gonna be album dot the name of the album, and I wanna add some styling here. So the font weights, I wanna make it a bit bold, is equals to font weights.bold, and then I wanna increase the size. So it's gonna be font size. Let's do 20.sp. So for text we use sp instead of dp. Then I want to add some space between the text, so I'm going to use a composable called spacer, and I'm going to use the modifier to define how much space I want between the text and I can say modifier, height to dp, and I'm gonna just copy this. Now we need the artist. This is gonna be normal. This is gonna be 12. Then we need the year. So the year is also gonna be normal, but I wanna change the color to gray. First of all, the size is gonna be 10 SP. We can, you know what, we can take this out because by default it's normal. But I want to change the color here to color dot gray. Yep, let's think that should work. Right, so we are done with our composable, our album item. Now we need to create another composable that will iterate our list of favorite albums, and for each iteration we're gonna be rendering this album item. So let me go ahead and create another composable. And I'm gonna call this one album list, and it's gonna take a list of albums now. In this composable, this is where we're gonna use the lazy column. So lazy column is a composable as well. And we've got items, which takes the size of the thing that we want to iterate. So albums.size, then we get an index. Now we can use this index to display one album for each album item. So we can go ahead and render the album item, and the album will be albums at index. Why are we getting an error? Album item. Why am I getting an error? Okay. Let me figure this out. Alright, so the problem was here. We need to pass album instead of albums because we want a list of this here, not this. Alright, so last step is to get the list of my favorite albums. Remember, you're gonna tell me what your favorite album is in the comment section. So these are my favorite albums. So I'm gonna call this fav albums. It's gonna be equals to albums, the object dot fav albums. So this albums is this here, and then I'm getting this value. So this is it here. Now we need to call album list and pass the favorite albums, and then this lazy column will then render each it will then pass each album to album item, and then we'll see that on the screen. So album list, passing 5 albums, and then we're done. Let's go ahead and run the app and see how it looks. So yep, it looks good. It looks like the previous app that I showed y'all. So yeah guys, this is it. This is how you create a list, a recycler view behavior in Jetpack Compose. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe, please like, and thank you for your attention. Catch y'all in the next video. Cheers.